I feel like I shit on like white people a lot here, white skinned people. I don't mean to, but like you know, it's because they're tourists, you know, and a lot of times people are rude, and they think because they're on vacation, like you're on vacation too, or even worse, if they know you live here or get an idea you live here, they think you're part of the tourism board. You know, I've had Australian women asking me like where to eat. I go, what's up there? And I try to be polite, and I'll give the rundown, and they're like, oh, I don't like that place. Yeah, I've already been to that one. It's like, lady, come on. But yeah, I'm in the store just now, and at the counter doing my thing. A lot of times here what happens is people are impatient, kind of, and they just want you to vanish or not exist because they want to go next. So there's this guy, he just puts everything on the counter. Usually they just throw it on the counter and just be like, fuck you. But he's like, look, I'm sorry, these things are really cold. And I'm like, oh no, that's cool, man. And I'm like, that's so, you know, thoughtful. And that's the power of white people. Sometimes they're good. Did I just say white power? I said power, what? That could be a problem. But, yeah, like, they just seem to be, like, super polite all the time. Coming home the other night, like, I'm walking up the sidewalk, and the sidewalks near my house are pretty tight. And there are these kids, like, that were obviously, like, surfing or something on the beach. So there's a big group of them coming up the sidewalk, and I'm walking towards them. Usually what happens is no one kind of moves, and then I end up running up to them, you know, getting up to them, and there's a lot of confusion. It's like, well, we've run into a quantum problem here. We can't occupy the same space, right? Now what I do with my wife when I'm walking with her is I'll go single file. I put her in front of me, and there we go. These dudes, right, they all, without even like mentioning anything, there was no discussion, there was no confusion, they all got into single file on one side of the sidewalk and allowed me to pass unmolested. That's when I love white people, because they just do shit like that. And you know, all kinds of different people do stuff like that, but it's kind of uncommon outside of white skins. So yeah, they are good. Like I feel like I'm always trashing them because they are usually the people that give me the most stick for how I look. I don't look too crazy tonight. Just got like a stuff around the eyes, but that's about it. But sometimes, you know, I get a little extra, and it's always like there's always some white dude that gets real upset by that. I don't know what it is. It's been that way though since, you know, I started doing this kind of shit with my looks when I was 14 or 15. You're always going to get some kind of crap. You know, it's inevitable. It's fine though. I mean, in fact, if anything, it got, you know, I would have stopped wearing makeup years ago if not for the anger of people. You know, they get mad at it, and it's like, oh, I like that. I like that. I'm gonna keep doing this. I kind of know what it is, what spurns it. It's like it's one thing, spurs it on, spurs that jingle. What it is it's one thing, you know, for people to say, like, people always like to act like they don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I do what I want, or I'll look how I want. But when they're confronted with someone who really doesn't give a fuck, and you can tell without them even opening their mouth, it makes them uncomfortable a little bit, because they're like, they don't like that. Like, you know, they want to be the one that don't give a fuck. It's never women that say anything. If anything, I get positivity from them. Like, they'll comment on it. Oh, I like, I don't know, I like your look. I like what you're doing. It's very cool. It's guys that get upset by this. Because, yeah, there's a fear element there. And there's a jealousy element, because they're like, well, this person, he doesn't have to say he doesn't give a fuck. He clearly doesn't give a fuck. Walk around like that, right? So the jealousy comes in because they want to be that free, but they can't be. So they put the hat on and the t-shirt that has a seafood restaurant on it, khakis, and you know, they show off the tribal armband. They go on their way. But, and I'm not saying I'm any kind of fucking badass or you know, because I do look the way I want, but I don't run by what I'm going to do with anybody. I just kind of do it, except for my wife occasionally. Sometimes I'll ask her, like, is this too over the top, you know? And the whole thing about its connection to demonic spirits, that's something I learned years later. I didn't know any of that. Like, I learned it through Jazz Coleman. The idea being why a lot of shamans and people who would interact with spirits, specifically negative spirits, demonic spirits. The idea is that they can enter you through the eyes. The eyes are the way to get in. And I've seen stuff that backs that up, and I don't know. Is it true or not? I don't know. But what I do know is they need doors. They need doorways, because demonic entities, even though they are incorporeal in this space, they can't like go through walls. They have to adhere to the 3D architecture of this realm. Bizarre. I don't know why it is, but it is. Like if you go to yeah, I'm going to bring it up again, Roger and Casey's site. When he illuminates a area and shows you where all the demonic entities are, they're always standing on something. You know, they're always their feet are always on the ground. None of them are floating in the air. None of them are, you know, phasing through a wall. Like they can't move through things like a ghost. They have to adhere to the architecture and the rules here. I don't why that is. I don't know. So they have to go through doorways to move around, and the doorways into you is your eyes. You know, they don't just absorb through your skin. In the same way, like if you're messing around with one in a building or you're inside in a closed place, they always say if you think one's out, if it gets out of the circle, if you fucked up your points or whatever, and they're out there, leave a window open or leave a door open, because that's how they get out. They get out through the window and the door. And I think this has a lot to do with the fact that they are a frequency, like a radio frequency. That's what these things are on. So I guess in a sense it's a bit like if you're trying to get reception, do whatever electronic thing you need. Sometimes you need to connect to the air. If you're in a box, you're not going to get it. You know, I walk down my back staircase with my cell phone. I can't get phone calls. I go into an elevator. I can't get phone calls. I would like to get my hands on that phone that President Nixon used to talk to the astronauts on the moon, though. It looked like just a rotary dial-up phone. That thing was kick-ass. I guess we just lost the technology, huh? So, yeah, they're radio, like we are. We're also like radio frequencies. We're like radio stations. And they're all in the same area, but to tune into one puts you or the entity or whatever it is, if you tune into the frequency it's on, then you can interact with it. So they always say leave a window or a door open. That's why they always say to, just meaning research and things I picked up, to salt your windowsills and salt your doors. I always do that, because they can't pass through it, I guess. But anyway, getting back to the eye thing. They travel into the eyes. Now what the old shamans and mystics believe is that if you put war paint or makeup around the eyes, the demons can't pass into you. They get trapped in the paint or the makeup, whatever. So then when you're done doing whatever it is in your demonic interaction, when you wash the makeup off, any demonic entities that were bubbling around or trying to get in, or any kind of leftover frequency, gets washed off with it. That's the idea. But I never knew that. I just used to do it for aesthetic purposes, you know, because I just fucking, I don't know. Well, because I've always been in like bands and shit, and it was just part of my look. I've gotten older, it's gotten a little different, you know. It's more, I guess, goth than glam now. I don't know. I just like it. I feel naked without it, usually. But yeah, I had no problem with white skins. They're cool generally. I mean, they give me trouble sometimes. Every fight I've been in, like every either physical or just, you know, yelling fight, has always been exclusively with white skins. I don't know why it is, but other people just seem to, you know, they don't care, which can be good and bad, because sometimes they don't care to the amount that they don't see you and they're walking into you all the time. You know, we showed you that happening here. But yeah, they're just super polite, you know, and they don't try to do like socially shit. Like, they won't slam the door in your face. They won't run in. Generally, for the most part, you know, there's always outliers and there's always exceptions to that rule. But yeah, in situations like the one back at the store, you know, usually it has someone trying to put their stuff down on the counter while you're doing your exchange as a way to say, fuck you, get out of the way. Hey, it's people. But yeah, he was like, look, I'm sorry, I'm like, wow, that's so nice, you know. So yeah, you know, it's good to say good things about them too. So yeah, tonight I'm going up to just kind of root around, see if I get anything interesting or have any run-ins with anything. Of course, I do not consent to any entities encroaching on my person. I'm here to observe and to help if I can, and that's it. So yeah, I'm just gonna walk up here a bit, finish this drink, and I'll have the camera ready in case anything interesting happens. I want to talk a little bit about spiritual attack and what actually that means. So yeah, I'm gonna go up here and just root around a bit, and on the way back I'm gonna fire it up again and just talk briefly about that, and air quotes, supernatural experiences in general, and how people sometimes miss them because they've been built up in visual mediums and storytelling to be this over-the-top grandiose thing, when in fact they're very, very subtle, and sometimes you don't realize you're having them or had them until much later. So yeah, I'll see what goes on. If everything's quiet, on the way back I'll fire it up and talk a little bit about that. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.